All right, party people. Today we're going to be doing a little intro into neurology slash neuroanatomy. For starters, we're going to start with the general divisions of the nervous system. First and foremost, we're going to divide up the central nervous system from the peripheral nervous system. Now, for all intents and purposes, in your mind, just clarify that the brain and spinal cord are regarded as the CNS. Everything outside of that relating to the neural system is referred to as the peripheral nervous system. Please understand that your central nervous system is receiving sensory input from the peripheral nervous system, as well as sending input to the peripheral nervous system. These two systems work together in unison and are responsible for your neurological control of your bodily functions. Some of them are voluntary, others are involuntary. But today we're going to basically organize how you think about all these pathways and get a general introduction into how this system is arranged. As far as the central nervous system, please understand that the cerebral cortex, the outermost layer of your brain in the cerebral hemispheres, is responsible for your consciousness, your awareness, your understanding of being alive. Please understand that your peripheral nervous system takes information from the periphery back to your central nervous system and takes motor impulses from the central nervous system to the periphery. So there's a lot of back and forth here about how your brain sends information as well as receives information. Now, as far as your peripheral nervous system, that system is then divided into two other major divisions. You can label that as the sensory peripheral nervous system as well as the motor peripheral nervous system. Beyond your sensory nervous system, if you were to divide that, you can divide that into special sensations as well as general sensations. Special sensations would be things such as vision, olfaction, taste, hearing, balance, and equilibrium. This would be in relation to your vestibular system. So when you think about your vision, your eyes, olfaction, your sense of smell, the taste, your sensation from your tongue, your hearing, and balance, again, the vestibular system. As far as general sensations, this would be divided into somatic and visceral. So for somatic, think about sensations from your skin, superficial parts of the body, as well as your locomotor system, for you to understand where your body is in space. For the visceral, think of dull pain, discomfort. So when somebody gives you a general aching pain, such as their bones hurt, or sometimes they point to their abdomen, they can't really specify where the pain is, they just know that somewhere in that general area, this is what we refer to as visceral pain. Now, as far as the motor peripheral nervous system, we can divide that further into somatic motor response, as well as an autonomic motor response. The whole concept of this is simple. If it's somatic, that means it's voluntary. You chose to do it. You made a conscious decision to flex your bicep or take that step while walking up the stairs. Autonomic motor responses are not in your control. For example, they can be divided into sympathetic, parasympathetic. This is your fight or flight. Will your heart rate increase or decrease? This isn't a voluntary choice. If I ask you to increase your heart rate right now, you can't just mentally cause yourself to do it. This is a brief overview. Just want to get you comfortable with the terms, and then in other segments we'll go into a deeper dive into how all this stuff interrelates. As far as cells of the nervous system, we're going to be focusing on 5 types. That would be the oligodendrocytes. This is what is responsible for myelating your central nervous system. You have microglial cells, which are immune cells of your CNS. You have astrocytes, which create your blood-brain barrier. You have Schwann cells, which make myelin in your peripheral nervous system. You have ependymal cells, make your CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. And finally, for extra points, we have the satellite cells, like astrocytes, are very susceptible to inflammation. Up next, we're going to be going over a little bit of brain divisions when looking at a slice of the brain through the coronal view, or the coronal plane, or the frontal plane. So when I say coronal plane or frontal plane, think about if I was to drop a guillotine along the top of someone's head as they're standing in front of you. Their nipples would be on one piece, their butt cheeks would be on the other piece. This is not to be confused with the sagittal plane, which if I would drop a blade along the sagittal plane, you would have the body evenly split down the middle, where each piece of that division would have one eye, one nipple, one foot, one hand, etc. Sorry about the gruesome example, but I feel like that might help you remember, if this terminology is new to you. Alright, so in this coronal slice, we can see that the telencephalon are the 2 cerebral hemispheres at the most superior part of the brain. Deeper to that, we have the forebrain, or the prosencephalon. Deeper still, to that medial aspect, we have the diencephalon. This is the deepest part of the cerebral hemispheres. It's composed of 3 parts: the epithalamus, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. So the epithalamus secretes melatonin with the pineal gland. And the hypothalamus secretes oxytocin. Below the forebrain and diencephalon, we have the midbrain, known as the mesencephalon. Below that, we have the hindbrain, which is composed of the pons medulla cerebellum. This is also known as the rhombencephalon. And finally, below that, we have the spinal cord. That's going to be it for this segment. Now go crush it.